A new season of GT America, powered by AWS, started yesterday here at Sonoma Raceway in Northern California, and it's almost time for the second 40-minute sprint to get underway. Hello, my name is Ryan Marine. Calvin Fish joins me, and Amanda Busick is down in the pit lane, getting ready to get started here for the second time in 2026 for this Sprint Championship, multi-class sprint racing in GT America as ever. Sunny skies overhead, 75-degree temperatures, with track temperatures starting to climb, approaching 90 degrees Fahrenheit. It's been a wonderful weekend to spend time out at the racetrack. Temperatures just about perfect for setting fast lap times as well.
Yes, Chamber of Commerce weather has continued here throughout the whole week, so just incredible. We jumped off the plane the other day and just said, wow, this weather is something special, and has continued for 4 straight days here. But what a race we had here yesterday. Memo Gidley on his home circuit, made it stick, had the pole, took off, controlled the race really, but there were 3 or 4 other cars, Ryan, that showed a lot of pace, and they're going to be a little bit more on the forefront, on the front foot here today.
No question, plenty of stories. Let's get to the grid and learn a few more of them now with Amanda Busick.
Hey guys, yeah, we're going to have a very special driver start your engines today, bringing in the big guns. That'll be a bit of a preview there, but I do want to do an update on Mirko Schultes. Look at this Callaway Corvette. I was talking to Mirko. He said from the headers on back on this right side of this Callaway Corvette was repaired overnight. I'm told that the team got maybe 4 hours of sleep last night, but Mirko said this Corvette looks better than it did even yesterday. He had that sunset orange soda on the rear of that Corvette taking some promo photos, but just happy to get some track time today and see what this Callaway Corvette can do.
Well, tough day yesterday, as Amanda alluded to, but it's a whole new day. That's one of the beauties of this 2-race format across a weekend. You have a bad Saturday, you can come back on Sunday.
Absolutely. As unfortunate they got together there, he and Cortez up in turn 2 were damage to both cars, so they couldn't continue. But we always know that he races well, doesn't always qualify the best, but green flag flies and he sends a move forward. But I'm really curious on that front row with Gidley on the pole, having had fastest lap, so that gave him the pole here for today. But Carl Washington is alongside. Took him a while to get into his stride yesterday, but if he can get up on the wheel, Gidley's going to want to get to the front immediately at the drop of the green, I feel, to control this race again.
Well, once he got in that stride, as you say, he was quick to secure that front row starting position. It's a totally mixed up grid from what we saw yesterday, and we're about to turn them loose. Let's head down to the grid once more, and Amanda Busick.
We're at the front of the grid with the brother-in-law of Memo Gidley, your pole sitter, but you might know him as Shooter McGavin with some of the best words in motorsports. Let's hear it rip.
Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines!
Woo!
Great stuff. Chris McDonald,
I'd still like to talk to him.
who is, as mentioned, the brother-in-law of Memo Gidley, played Shooter McGavin on Happy Gilmore, and here enjoying a day out at the racetrack. And he has plenty to cheer for here. It was a great day for the Gidley family yesterday. Dominant performance. We'll watch the cars roll out onto the grid, but a chance to hear from the man who had those great words just a few moments ago, Amanda.
I have to say, we say that that's one of the best that we've heard so far, but I know you're full of quips. What's some of the advice you gave Memo this weekend? What did he have for breakfast, huh?
I think he wasn't going to have what I had for breakfast, but he'll do that to to the other cars in the track, I'm sure. It was such a beautiful run yesterday. He was, P1, and he just kept it and kept it and kept it, and God love him. I mean, you sit there scared. I was up on 2 watching, and, just to pass these guys to get around, you never know. But, man, what a day that was yesterday, and today we hope for the same.
Of all the experiences that you've had in your lifetime, what was that one like, firing those engines?
That was pretty fun, I got to say. I've done it once before at Watkins Glen. That was cool, but I turned it up a little bit today because it's Memo Gidley, baby.
Ryan, as I told you, the big guns.
Yeah, they came out in full force, didn't they? Hey, well, we can have him back, I think, to do that again. That was as good of a performance on the command as we have had. Really well done, and great to have the whole Gidley family out here at the track celebrating a big day yesterday for Memo, who's back for a full season for the first time in some time. Starting grid for race 2 of the weekend, and it is yesterday's winner, Memo Gidley on pole. Kyle Washington, by virtue of the second fastest race lap yesterday, will start second today. Dave Musial Sr., impressive debut yesterday next to a former GT4 champion in this series, Ross West. Mark Mutzo for our Ferry Motorsport will line up fifth next to Scott Blend in his first weekend at GT America. Tony Davis and Joel Cortez make up row 4. Then you get to the 5th row and Mirko Schultes and Thor Haugen. Callaway Corvette and Ferrari there. No Rodin Unesi this weekend. David Lecco on pole in the new Cup class. Yusuf Nabi joining him in that class here this weekend. And out back, it will be Craig Lumsden flying solo for Flying Lizard in his BMW, but having a lot of fun, as we heard from him after the race yesterday. Up in the flag stand, it is Jeffrey Kripe from Cielo Vision who gets to get this race underway officially with the wave of the green flag. Great view for him. Welcome to the racetrack, Jeffrey. Hope you're enjoying the afternoon, as are so many here across multiple days of competition. Ticket sales up massively year on year. Good buzz around the paddock. Big race coming up later today with the debut of the new format for GT World Challenge, but right now, all eyes here on GT America.
Absolutely, and can Gidley get the jump here and get into his rhythm and maybe gap this pack before they do the same thing? You know, Washington has been told by James Safronis, the team owner, and his co-driver in GT World Challenge America, Tom Sargent, you got to try and make a move early here, control this race.
Memo Gidley, imperious yesterday, started on pole, fastest lap of the race, got the win. There's the green flag, and the race is on at Sonoma Raceway. Kyle Washington challenged here at the early stages. That's Musial looking up the inside. Washington gives him space, but is able to hang on to the spot. Schwest settles in line in the 4th spot, and it looks like troubles for Blend. He's dropped back to the back of the pack.
Yeah, right at the tail end of this field, so I'm not sure what happened there on the formation lap, whether he had an issue, and then the rules dictate you got to start from the back of the pack. But Gidley gets the jump. Problems here. Schwest over the top of turn 3, gets turned around possibly.
Well, that is really disappointing for the driver who finished 4th yesterday. Car facing the wrong way, but the field has been able to file through, so as long as he can get the car refired, he should be able to rejoin. Change for the lead as well in the Cup class. Nabi around Lecco, who led flag to flag in race 1 yesterday. So Ferrari heading up Ginetta in that brand new class. Blend seems to be back on the pace now. He's cleared the Cup class. Here they are, leading is Yusuf Nabi. Dipping his toe in the water here in SRO America this weekend. Hope to see more of him. And then Lecco in that Ginetta GTP8 that was so strong a day ago. Oh, and Schwest is still having trouble getting that car righted.
I think the car may have some damage there as it was rolling forward. You see it kind of hopping there on the right rear possibly. So I wonder when he turned in there whether he just got help and got turned around, and that created some right rear suspension damage.
Ross did well coming through the field yesterday. Finished just off the podium. Was right on the fringes of it. Tough way for race number 2 to begin. Top 3 running in close proximity here. Kyle Washington keeping pace with Memo Gidley in the Audi, and Dave Musial not too far behind either. Gidley, by far the most experienced of this trio. Oh, and they're coming up on the wounded car of Schwest. This is unsighted coming over the hill. Oh, splitting him on either side. That was really, really close.
Yeah, really close. He's in trouble here. He may have lost drive as well if one of those rear axles has been broken as well. So he's trying to get that car out of harm's way. Really a bit of a sketchy moment there as we do finally go full course yellow.
I think there could have been another car involved. Thor Haugen, also shown as stopped on track, has not come around to complete a lap. And I wonder if that could be at the root of this, but spot on, Calvin. Left rear, clearly at least a puncture, but likely a lot more than that. Might have a look at it here in just a moment. Here we go. This is the initial start.
Oh, there's the touch. It was right at the beginning there with he and Muso getting together, and that's where the clip was, and probably Blind kind of has to take some evasive action, and then when he gets to the top of the hill, he's got a cut-down tire which spins him around. So it was the contact going through the sweeper there, turn 1, where the damage was done.
And I think that was actually Mutzo that made the contact there in the red Ferrari that sits 4th at the moment.
Yeah, it was.
So not Haugen, as I had speculated. Maybe that car just didn't take the start. Interesting. And Blend also was caught up in that. That explains why he dropped to the back.
Yeah, and that's when he finally got to turn 3. It probably took a while for that tire to go down, and then suddenly when he really loaded it there. It's kind of a funneling effect as you climb the hill. You got to give each other a little bit of extra room, because if you zig and zag at the wrong time, that can create that problem.
Well, frustration for sure for Ross Schwest. He's putting all of his eggs in the GT America basket this year, not running GT World Challenge as he did a year ago, dual programs. And yeah, that is a difficult way to start a championship. Decent run yesterday to 4th as we've chronicled, but looks like he'll be toward the back of the class here today. The question is, maybe that car can get back out on track. Safety crew is there to attend to it now. If they can get it back to the pit lane, maybe there's something the Schwest Povoleto crew can do about it.
Yeah, Ross obviously didn't take the shortcut there, so he obviously felt he was trying to get the car back to pit lane. But even so, I would have taken the shortcut just to, you know, you're on the back foot anyway. The key is getting it back there and letting the crew get some work done. Didn't elect to go to a safe haven around this racetrack. He feels there's still a chance of getting back in this race, I would assume, by his actions.
It does sound like, by the way, Thor Haugen did not make it to the grid. Not entirely sure why that would be. Finished 8th yesterday in his debut with the Scuderia Corsa team, but not on the grid here for the second race of the weekend. Full course yellow might come as a benefit to Scott Blend, who got shuffled back, as we've described a couple of times, coming to the green flag. Now at least he gets bunched up once again with the rest of the pack, and he was able to get ahead of the Cup class prior to the full course yellow being displayed.
Washington, obviously, with that track position by having the second fastest race lap yesterday. He's right at the sharp end of the grid. He's been displaying speed. It's just been the consistency of that speed that's been the issue as I'm looking at it. It took him a while to get going yesterday. He qualified 9th, admittedly, as a very tight field. The top 9 separated by about 1 second on the grid for race 1 here this weekend. And then he started to display. He actually went fastest during the race, and he had to dig deep to get that fastest lap taken away from him. But this is good news for Washington. I think he's already seeing what Gidley can do. He can kind of already assess where the Audi may be a little bit stronger, or more importantly, where it might have some weaknesses and some weak spots where he can maybe make a move.
Well, a better start today for Mirko Schultes. His race ended in turn 3, lap 1 day ago. Contact with Cortez, both of them just looking to put some laps in. Everything that builds into a brand new season, all the anticipation, and it all came to a screeching halt quite abruptly, but they'll be happy to be able to go out and race a little bit. Here is Nobby. As mentioned, we have the new Cup class. It's open to single meg cars like this Ferrari Challenge 488s, as well as the new Ginetta. I believe Lamborghini Super Trofeo cars also would be eligible to run in this class. I had a chance to talk to Yusuf a little bit earlier in the weekend. He's from Hawaii, spent 20 years in the military and in law enforcement, and this is his passion. Loves going racing, won a championship in International GT last year, and brings this team to the SRO America paddock for the first time, and hope to see a lot more of him and the Gotham team.
Yeah, I think it's great to have this opportunity for other cars to enter the championship with this Cup class. There's a lot of those cars out there, so I'm sure there'll be many eyeballs on this opening weekend of the championship season to see how those cars fare, and we might get some more drivers and teams elect to participate a bit deeper into the season. And
the hope is there for GT4 too. Craig Lumsden did a couple of races last year. Ran the doubleheader at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, a 3rd and a 2nd in those 2 starts. Here he is in his BMW M4 GT4 for Flying Lizard Motorsports. So many years based here at Sonoma. Almost have to remind myself every year now that this isn't the home track anymore. They relocated down to Arizona a couple of years back.
Down at Apex, and his son also races, ran in Pirelli GT4 this weekend. Had a really nice podium run. Would have been 2, actually. The car suffered a penalty for a avoidable contact with his co-driver on the first race day of the weekend, but certainly showed a lot of promise and could be a championship contender.
Looks that way through a couple of races here in Rally GT4 America. Raceway's Corvette up on the rollback. Get that cleared as soon as possible. We might be a lap or so away from resuming racing, but man, these full course yellows in a short sprint race like this, just 40 minutes to begin with. We've lost the better part of 10 minutes already behind the full course yellow. Doesn't leave you with a whole bunch of time to recover if you've had a difficult start, like Scott Blinn, for instance.
Yeah, and it can backfire on you a little bit. Certainly, you know, managing the tires over 40 minutes is certainly a factor, I think, for the last 10 minutes of this race. So if you're kind of going a bit conservative with your starting pressures, thinking, okay, I'm going to come on strong really at the end, that takes away that anticipation of doing that, and then will favor someone who went a little bit more aggressive on their setup and with their starting pressures potentially.
Memo Gidley out in front as he was all race long yesterday. New livery for Memo this year.
The color red.
That's right, learned from the team. They're calling it Amanda Busick lipstick red. I think a fitting description.
Car looks great though.
It does.
It's a wonderful team. Just so many great components to that in terms of the team owners. Ken and Melissa Hussey, Phil Creighton, the team manager there, Rosella, the engineer, and Memo back gunning for another championship, one in 2023 with TKO Motorsports, aboard a Mercedes.
It's a remarkable season, won 8 times, 15 times on the podium, along with 8 poles, 7 fastest laps in that 2023 campaign. Didn't come back in 24 to defend. Then last year, drafted into the lineup for Ski Auto Sports, but they didn't debut until the 5th and 6th races of the season at Circuit of the Americas, so they were not here in Sonoma. Never really had a chance to fight for a championship, having scored no points through the first 4 races on the calendar. Even so, ended up 3rd in points, only 56 points out of the championship lead, despite missing those 4 races.
Yeah, 3 wins, 7 podiums, only twice off the podium, and they were P4 finishes, so super consistent. And I think they reflected back and think, boy, if we'd just done the opening round of the championship, or hadn't skipped the early rounds, we'd have been a championship contender for sure. So they're here on the front end. There's Rosella, getting anxious here, big smile on her face yesterday. She was pumped. So long, a great Ferrari engineer for Michelotto.
Looks like the cleanup is complete. Anticipating a restart imminently.
Right off of turn 11, which is this hairpin coming up, so Gidley's in charge here.
Kyle Washington chomping at the bit, trying to take the attack to Gidley. Here in the early stages, that's the E-Boost Porsche sitting in second, then Dave Bushel Sr. in the purple, black, and green Porsche in 3rd place. Gidley gets the jump, green flag waits once again with 28 minutes on the clock. Here comes Memo leading the way up the hill. Good getaway from the leader. Coming to the restart, Bushel really wide there through turn 1, but was able to wrangle it back in. Mark Muzzo as well, keeping pace with the top 3.
Yeah, and the key is when you got experience, you know you got to prep those tires for these restarts. You got to generate a little bit of tire temperature. You can do that by riding the gas pedal and the brake at the same time, generating some inner core temp, and maybe Musil didn't do that and got caught out when he asked for some grip from those front end Pirellis.
The back of the SRO 3 field, here is Tony Davis in the white and red Ferrari. Behind him, Mirko Schultes in the Callaway Corvette, and Scott Blinn, who was muscled off track on the opening lap here today, trying to recover some track position after finishing on the podium on debut yesterday.
Yeah, he had an excellent run yesterday. Really great discipline in terms of positioning that race car and resisting the challenge from behind. So got a ton of experience aboard Porsches. Had a massive year in 2025, Ryan.
Sure did. 4 championships in Porsche single make racing, Carrera Cup, Sprint Challenge North America, Sprint Challenge USA West, as well as Endurance Challenge North America, and was honored at the Porsche Night of Champions for that accomplishment with a first of its kind prize, a diamond ring. And this is a special weekend as well for Scott because a young driver, also from St. Louis, that he helped out early in his career, Mike Kohlbecker, is here racing in GR Cup. Actually got the win yesterday in race 1 of GR Cup, and Scott was there to greet him in victory lane en route to his own race car because he was about to climb aboard this Porsche yesterday for race 1 of the weekend.
Yeah, that's a great story. The fact that Scott is also supporting some young drivers trying to make their way in this very difficult sport at times. I mean, it's not like tennis. You don't just pick up a racket and go play and show your skills. You need some money and some revenue and sponsors and partners to make it happen, obviously getting a race car on the track.
Scott thought that racing was a game for young up-and-comers, aspiring pros. It actually took a trip to the IndyCar weekend at Barber several years ago in support of Spike, where he saw what was then the Porsche Single Make Series in North America, GT3 Cup Challenge USA it was called. He saw those cars on track and thought, well, what's this? Wait, you're telling me I could do this too? And that was his inspiration. In a short amount of time, he's amassed championships in single make Porsche racing, as we've chronicled, but international GT as well as GT4 racing in the IMSA paddock. So amazing what he's done in a short amount of time. Hooked up with Mike Johnson and Archangel Motorsports, who run this Ruckus racing program, and coached by Andrew Davis.
Yeah, and I think he takes it very seriously. It looks like he's super fit and dedicated athlete, and I love to see some of these businessmen who can take the same discipline and where they've had success in the boardroom and then turn it to the sport of motor racing. It will certainly pay dividends. You got to have the skill set where you can have the feel of a race car, obviously, but even so, it's all about the approach at a certain point in your career.
Here comes Mirko Schultes in the Callaway Corvette. Thought better of making a lunge down to 11 this time. Davis able to fend off the challenge. That's one of the newer cars in the field, the Ferrari 296, up against what is undoubtedly the oldest car here this weekend, the Callaway Corvettes.
The flash there of that concrete wall where it really sort of pinches down there as you make that sweep up the hill, where we saw Musso and Roche West unfortunately get together there after the drop of the green.
Gidley extending his lead out in front. It's now 1.3 seconds. Just did his best lap of the race. Blind looking aggressive here, taking a peek to the inside of the wily vet. Mirko Schultes couldn't get around.
Yeah, so everyone starting to set their best laps here as they generate that tire temp and get into a rhythm. Gidley, the most experienced driver in this field by a long ways. You'd certainly expect him to get up on the wheel a little bit earlier, having that confidence to do so. But Washington's really good day. Just like the fact that he was immediately up on it, putting the pressure on Gidley. He's dropped back a little bit, but we saw yesterday it took him a few laps to really get right down to his fast times, and he's running a lap pretty equally. He was a 10th quicker than Gidley in Sector 1, 10th slower in Sector 2, so shouldn't be much of a change in the delta at the front right now.
Of the drivers in SRO 3, only Washington is doing double duty with GT World Challenge America. That means he's the only one that's been on track already today. They had their qualifying session this morning. That has to help, right? To get into your rhythm, having had 15 minutes on track prior to this race?
Oh, very much so, and particularly at the beginning of the season. A lot of these drivers haven't really seen any seat time since Indianapolis last year. Carl stays busy running multiple championships, so does some testing out at Thornhill where GMG have their shop. So, yeah, you'd think it'd be well prepared, and doing 2 races on the same weekend, you're in pretty much an identical race car on the same racetrack with the same tire.
22 minutes, 44 seconds to go. Talking about Kyle Washington, Amanda can fill us in with more of his story.
Yeah, and he was our eBoost Hard Charger recipient of the award last season at the awards banquet. But I caught up with Kyle Washington ahead of this race in the Turn 11 hospitality for SRO America, and he was giddy about the fact that his mom just flew in today to watch him race. She'll be here for the GT America race as well as for GT World Challenge later on. This is the first time that she's traveled to watch her son race. She's seen him race at Thermal, which is kind of in his backyard. So to see a giddy Kyle Washington this morning, it was pretty fun to see, guys.
Literally in his backyard. He's got property there, and you can look out off the back porch and see the racetrack.
Yeah, I'm sure she had somewhat the best seat in the house at Thermal, but this is a great racetrack too for fans to really explore the facility, and some great viewing and vantage points to watch these awesome race cars traverse around this 2.5-mile circuit. So he's keeping Gidley in touch. See what happens here on this last lap. Lost 3/10. continues to set new fast laps. He comes across the stripe that time 1/10 quicker than his previous. That was not a great lap for Washington. I saw him slip a little bit wide on the entry at turn 7. I think that really hurt his middle sector on that last lap, and consequently that was a chunk that he's further behind now.
Interesting. Race Vision powered by AWS letting us know it's the Porsches that rule in the final sector. Usual Washington, the top 2 spots. Marco Schultes right there too, and actually right after that graphic went away, Schultes just put in the best final sector of anybody so far. Callaway Corvette still with some good pace. Looks like Schultes got around Davis. That's freed him up to set some of these fast lap times. And now Davis has his hands full with the hard-charging Scott Blind.
Yeah, as we've said many times, Schultes loves race timers when he really gets into a rhythm. He goes about his racing very seriously, but he's kind of low risk. He doesn't put it all on the line. He just likes being here and competing. But once he gets into a race, he really starts to develop that rhythm. He's got a lot of experience. He had a ton of success over the years. Typically, that success has come with GM power, as we've discussed many times. Ryan, he loves that GM power plant, fell in love with it, and tries to race cars that have that same power behind the race car.
Goes back to his days in his native Germany racing motorcycles, and his transport vehicle was, he said, a Chevy Blazer or something like that, and just loved the thing. And you look down his CV, Marco Schultes very rarely, it does happen, but it's rare, drives anything that doesn't have a GM power plant of some description. Right now he's pulling away from this scrap. Tony Davis did the final 4 races of the year last year. Podium in the final race, but right now he's battling with Blind for 7th and 8th.
Really tricky part of the racetrack. A lot of elevation change. It'll peak as they climb up to the tippy toe here of turn 3. 160 feet of elevation change around this circuit. You can see a little squiggle as you come over the top. You can't see where the road is, so if your hands are in the wrong position or you don't have the car lined up correctly, that can give you a little moment like that Davis was dealing with. Then run down the carousel of 4th gear, about 125 miles an hour. You tip it over the top, try and roll through here with minimum speed, 80 miles an hour plus, then bang back on the power, screaming up through the gears, and you touch about 135 before you hit the brakes again for turn 7.
That's where they are here. Big brake zone. If close enough, this is a place you can see some side-by-side racing, but Blind really not close enough to make any kind of lunge in earnest. Davis comes with a glittering CV from single-make Ferrari racing, former Ferrari Challenge Class champ. Thought he was really impressive in the 4 races he did in the tail end of the year last year. And great to have him and the HP Tech team back.
Yeah, made an immediate impression at Barber, was very sporty there, and then followed that up with competing at Indianapolis. Stood on the podium there. He wasn't eligible for points, but he did have a P3 finish, as I recall.
A little bit of a hiccup there, working the traffic in a tight part of the racetrack. Davis lost some momentum. Can Blind take advantage of it? He's closer than he's been the last couple of laps. Stays right there, tucked under the rear wing of the Ferrari, but Davis doesn't have any kind of slip up to open the door.
So difficult here when you get to these blind corners and you got that car immediately in front of you with that massive rear wing delivering downforce, but taking away your sight line even further around this really challenging racetrack. Super fun to drive. Since it was resurfaced before the start of the 2024 season, it really has developed a ton more grip.
Final step of the podium up for grabs with just under 17.5 minutes to go. Usual for Wright Motorsports, and a welcome back to Wright as well, a team that has a lengthy history here in SRO America. Back with a couple programs, one here in GT America, but also GT World Challenge.
Adam Adelson, who's been a long-time competitor for Wright Motorsports, took over the reins and ownership of that group early last year. He's here on site this weekend, now working as a team boss.
Fresh off a podium in Sebring last week as well. Let's head back down to the pits and Amanda.
Yeah, and it's nice to see Adam here this week. And I saw him also in hospitality earlier this morning. He said they even got me in a team polo this weekend. I refuse to wear these as a driver, so Adam taking it all in steam this weekend. But talking about Dave Musial, I don't know if everyone knows this listening to our broadcast, but I'm the rental car driver for Calvin Fish and Ryan Marine, and a lot of times we have conversations on the way to and from the track, and one of those this morning was how well Dave Musial did yesterday. I went over to Dave Musial and talked to him about that, and he said, I'm really happy with my stint, just need to keep that Porsche on track this time. You guys will remember yesterday he got off track and had some grass in that radiator, but said his expectations are podium here today, running in that spot.
So far, so good. Clearing some of the traffic there.
Yeah, I think he's a driver that really is displaying a lot of speed. I think if he can tidy things up a little bit, be a little bit more, this has been super critical right now, early phases of observing him drive, but he seems to really roll a lot of speed through some of these corners, and I think if he can work with his coach and stuff and really just tidy things up, I think there's a lot more potential there. I think he can be a real threat for wins here this season.
You get the sense that this is a nice crop of rookies coming into the championship, or at least drivers that don't have extensive experience. When you talk about Musial, Cortez has been in and out over the years, but showed some good pace in limited appearances previously. Davis, same story there. Blend, his record in single-make racing speaks for itself, and he just put a pass on Davis coming into the final sector, so that is for the 7th spot. It's been several laps in the making, but he's learning. It's a little different to get those passes done outside of single make racing when you've got different strengths and weaknesses to the cars that you're racing against. A look at how the pass was made. Traffic played a part.
Yeah, it certainly did. That Cup car may have stymied Davis a little bit, and Blind was there to pound, so nicely done. I think one of the fun aspects of GT America, whether it's one of the kids, as Johnny O'Connell used to call him, Justin Rothberg, or some of these more senior statesmen in our sport, but they're new to it, how they develop. I'd love to see the progress through a year or two and where they start off and how high they can climb. It's been really fun to watch over the last few years in this GT America Championship.
Exactly so. I think guys like Ross Schwest are an example of that, coming from GT4 up to GT3 and continuing to progress. Then we've got others that have used this to jump into GT World Challenge America, like a Jason Dascalos, although Jason had extensive experience in the old version of World Challenge. But yeah, it is fun to see that progression over the years, and you know, for Blind, we might see that progression before the year is up. There are quotes in the media talking about eyeing potential appearances in GT World Challenge before the end of 2026.
Yeah, and he's suddenly run his best first 2 sectors here, so I think maybe he was stymied with the aero wash potentially, or just being behind that Ferrari. And now he's starting to really crack off some good laps. He's got some work to do though, because Schultz has skipped off to the tune of about 5 seconds for that next position.
Fastest lap of the race though belongs to this Porsche. Joel Cortez won podium in 6 starts a year ago, spread across 2 different teams. Another graduate of the Porsche Pyramid in Sprint Challenge from Monterrey, Mexico. Joel Cortez.
Washington's also cracked a lap in the 136 bracket as well, which last time that was a little bit better than Gidley's best, so he's got a bit more speed potentially than our lead. You have to think that Gidley is maybe in management mode with that 3+ second lead out front. You never know if there's going to be a reset. You don't want to use your tires up in case there's suddenly a quick yellow and you got a 1 or 2 lap dash to the checkered flag.
So a little bit wide at the exit of the carousel there, and he's looking a bit vulnerable. He's lost touch with Musial now, and Cortez, who had just done the best lap of the race, is stepping up his game even further, just did his best first sector.
Yeah, and that's really a testimony of these tires too. They just really seem to hang on well. This track delivers a lot of grip, and you think, well, maybe that will overload the tire, but it's when the track doesn't have grip and it starts to slide across the surface, that's when you start to generate heat, also wear, and that's when you have more of a tire degradation issue at a circuit. We do seem to see, as these cars get a little bit lighter, Ryan, and the drivers get more into a rhythm, particularly in a championship that is all bronze-rated drivers. You can only run in GT America if you're bronze-rated, which means you're essentially an amateur. And you know, Gidley's had a great pro career, But nonetheless, you know, these drivers tend to need laps to get into the rhythm, just improve on the previous lap. It's like, okay, I get through that corner at that speed. Let me take a notch further next time, rather than having the inner belief that I can just throw it into this corner. It's going to give me the grip I'm looking for.
Gidley is a curious case, and I think would rightly bristle at being at the amateur title. It doesn't apply to him, that's for sure. The career that he's had, everything from top-level prototypes, Indy cars, you name it. But the way that the rules are written, there's a certain age threshold that you hit, and all of a sudden your rating gets bumped down as, oh, Mutso goes wide again. Cortez looking up the inside here. He's got a nice run out of the carousel, Cal. Would this be his chance? Oh, it's going to be super tight at apex. Mutso sees him coming, even with the bounce him over the curb. Cortez able to put the pass on. Really good awareness by both drivers. That could have ended in tears.
Absolutely, he's committed there. Mutso kind of didn't really squeeze him, didn't give him a lot of room, then there was nowhere to go, and Cortez got up on that curb, and Mutso had enough wherewithal to know I need to open up my hands a little bit, give him a bit more breathing room, so really well controlled by both drivers.
Change of 4th and 5th positions. This started through the carousel. Second lap in a row that Mutso got a little bit wide, but what do you make of this?
Well, you saw the initial little turn that Mutso wanted to make, then he saw he was committed, then he tried to get the apex again, and then Cortez thought, you know what, I've got to eat up as much landscape as I can on the inside, which got that right front up on the curb, and then you're up in the air and you have no steering ability, so I thought that was going to be chaos then. There'd be some contact and some argy-bargy, but it didn't happen.
Cortez car carrying the battle scars of contact yesterday with Mirko Schultes, and it's dislodged some of the bodywork on the right front. I think that right up on and over the curb, just keep an eye on it, flapping around in the breeze sporadically. Right in front of the car, I saw it lift up a couple of times as the front runners now work their way through the Cup class.
This is where it's really tricky. Going around the outside, is there any marbles out there? Do you get the grip? He carves it. That was beautifully done there. He's having to get through two different category of cars. You had the Cup car, then the GT4 car on the outside around the cushion there. That was beautifully judged by Cortez. He saw that one and handled it incredibly well.
So again, from two of the newer GT3 cars to the oldest, fitting in a way, this is the 20th anniversary of the GT3 platform. The first ever GT3 race was held in May of 2006 at Silverstone. And you think about how the class has developed over the years, you could definitely tell in the early days the roots of the car were in the street cars they were derived from. No more. You look at a modern GT3 car, let's use the Ferrari as an example, and yeah, all right, there are some components that carry over, but this is a thoroughbred race car in its modern form, and this Callaway Corvette probably sits somewhere in the middle of that scale.
Well, we need to celebrate that at Sebring.
Absolutely, we should. Absolutely. But a monumental milestone for the class that has proven to be so popular globally, and that's one of the great things about GT3, right? You could buy a car, and with minimal modification, you can take it and race in just about any of the big sports car races anywhere on the planet, regional championships, national championships, all the way up to the World Championship. And the manufacturer buy-in has, I would argue, never been greater, with so many now offering all the customer support that a team could ever need. Racing's never cheap, and GT3, the costs have gone up undoubtedly, but it still is somewhat of an entry-level price point with a lot of factory backing behind you. It's not like the old days when you had to go to your local prep shop and you put something together and maybe you'd get some help from the OEM. That's all gone. This is now factory-supported, factory-blessed racing.
Absolutely, and Stefan Rattel's vision was spot on there, because it embraced, you know, the customer program where manufacturers would build a great turnkey race car, made it more efficient, whereas they knew they were going to sell bigger numbers so they could amortize the cost there, make the racing a little bit less restrictive, and has been embraced thoroughly with this global platform now.
Fight starting to develop here since Cortez cleared Mutso. He has been quickly reeling in his fellow Porsche runner. This is going to be good stuff for the final 6.5 minutes or so. Final step of the podium up for grabs here, Cal, and look how quickly Cortez has reeled him in.
Yeah, Musial had a pretty average lap 2 laps ago, and that's why this gap has suddenly gone away. But as someone who's absolutely flying right now, we talked about Mirko Schultes coming live in race. He just laid down the race's fastest lap, 3/10 quicker than the leader, Memo Gidley, at 1:36.5. Gidley's heard this. I'm not sure if he just wants, there's no point involved or any benefit, but he just went purple in sector 1. And he wants to be the man this weekend and dominate.
Yeah, that is par for the course. He wants the bragging rights. Make it a clean sweep of the weekend. Pole, race win, fastest lap potentially in both races. Believe it or not, and I was told this by a reliable source just a little bit ago, if Gidley were to hang on, it would be the first ever weekend sweep for Ski Autosports.
Wow, that is a big surprise.
I was dumbfounded to learn that, but thanks to Paul Ryan for letting me know.
Yeah, that's crazy after all the success that they've had and how many race wins they've had with both Memo and Johnny O'Connell on his way to a championship.
Exactly. Today could
Maybe
be the
they
day.
party too much on a Saturday night. What do you think?
No, I don't think that's it. Is there such thing as too much? No,
Maybe Rosella lets Phil do the setup, Shane.
That might be the answer. Now we know. Great group, as we've talked about several times. Now let's see what Cortez can do. He's run down Musial here, but this deep into the stint, tough to run close behind another GT3 car. Did take an interesting approach there a couple of corners ago. Do you think that was intentional, or he just ended up out there?
Yeah, sometimes if you kind of keep too much pace climbing the hill, you need to try and keep in a straight line. You realize if you try and add and combine steering with that speed, it's not going to work, so you just head straight for that apex, but not ideal. Typically, you got to compromise your line up the hill to get set up to get up over that crest of the hill. You can survive the apex, but you may come off the corner with less speed and less lap time.
Cortez keeps it tucked a little bit tighter there, half a lane further to the inside through the carousel. But Musial settling into his rhythm once again. Actually had the better first sector this time by.
Up front, I mean, Gidley and Washington, they're 2.7 seconds apart, but they are setting sector times and lap times almost identical.
We'll keep our eyes on this fight, but I think Amanda's got an update for us on the race leader.
Well, I'm keeping my eyes on Melissa Hussey, who is pacing down here. She just took her headset off at me and said, I think I need a Xanax. I did confirm it would be a sweep up the weekend for them for the first time, but it's also been a bid weekend for them with the driver. They went sailing on Monday. Memo took both Melissa and Kent out, and then they went wine tasting this week. So good to celebrate here in Sonoma.
Great place for it. This is one that I don't think it takes too much convincing to get the family to come out to the racetrack.
No, it's one we always celebrate the start of a new year with our traditional margarita on the way up to the hotel after arriving, so traditions.
Great way to start the year. Gidley by 2.8 seconds over Washington. And it's Musial right here with the Joker riding on the hood of that car and on the side. That is another tradition. If you've seen him race in just about anything over the last few years, the livery always includes that to some degree.
Look at these drivers adopting very different lines around this racetrack, trying to get efficient here and find the grip at this stage of the race. Just a couple of laps to go here. Musial's doing a really nice job, but Cortez has been on the charge. He had that fastest lap. He's lost that to Schultes, but his real goal right now is to get onto that podium. Washington just set the fastest sector time in sector 2. He's bringing the gap down at the front, but I think he's got too much work to do. It's now at 2.4 seconds with 2.5 minutes left on the clock.
Should be 2 laps.
Should be white flag next time by, not this time. So got 2 full laps to work with, does Kyle Washington.
Same can be said for Cortez in his battle with Musial. Don't forget about Schultes, who continues to put down quick laps. He's starting to close in on Lutzo a little bit for 5th and 6th. There's Washington, or that was Washington just a moment ago. Now we're looking at Schultes, and he has caught Lutzo.
Yeah, he's been absolutely flying, just digging deep, super consistent run with great pace on top of that as well. He's enjoying this racetrack right now. That Callaway is hooked up. Questioning what might have been for this weekend, because obviously with that early problem, he didn't have a chance to lay down a fast lap in the race, and consequently had to start this race from near the back of the field. Could have had a great run yesterday if he'd had similar pace to what he's displaying here today, and then a really much better starting position as well. One thing about this format, Ryan, if you have a grief early in race one, it really turns the whole weekend upside down.
Look at the flip side of that. Washington had a poor starting spot yesterday, but had the second fastest lap. He was never able to drive his way into podium contention, but starting up there and using the natural pace that he has at his disposal, he's never really been threatened in that second spot. So the weekend totally shifting 180 degrees, some for the better, some for the worse.
Mirko just moving around there, trying to get in Amuzo's head a little bit by jinking around from too far back. That was not a legitimate think of making a move down into the brake zone, but he is really close there. Amuzo did not get off that chicane with a lot of speed, and that's allowed Mirko to be right there into the brake zone for turn 11.
Mark covers off the inside, but it forces him out wide and close to the wall there at the exit of 11. Better run out of the corner for the Corvette. Mirko Schultes to the outside as the white flag flies here at Sonoma. Mirko Schultes to the outside. They split the GT4 traffic, and Schultes takes the spot.
Lumsden did a great job of just holding station. If he saw a car coming, he could have jinked the wrong way. That could have been an absolute disaster there. You're touching about 135, 140 at that point on the race circuit.
Oh, would love to know what Craig was thinking in that moment when he saw the battle for 5th and 6th coming up on him and going to either side.
Mirko, total commitment there. That was beautiful to watch.
Outstanding racecraft, as you would expect from the veteran, former class winner at Petit Le Mans. And a staple in this paddock for a number of years now. Gidley through the high-speed S's with Washington giving chase. 3 seconds adrift, but doing well to keep tabs with the veteran, the Californian. Back behind the wheel for a full season for the first time in GT America in a couple of years, and about to deliver something historic for the Ski Autosports team. They've never before swept a weekend in GT America powered by AWS. That changes here, that changes now. Memo Gidley takes the checkered flag and wins race 2, sweeps the weekend at Sonoma. Kyle Washington comes home in second. Musial Cortez, we wait for them, and it is Musial at the line. Mirko Schultes with the move late in the going on the final lap of the race to take 5th place ahead of Mark Mutso. Then Scott Blend in 7th, Tony Davis in 8th. In the Cup class for the 2nd straight day, Deal Machine on the side for David Lecco. Craig Lumsden made it to the checkered flag. That wasn't always an obvious conclusion. He was in the midst of a few SRO3 battles, but was able to keep his head on a swivel, sees the checkered flag. And for Lecco, who comes from SVRA Racing in Ginettas, this is a step up in performance, new offering from Ginetta here this year. Has to be a wonderful track to drive this car, which is nimble, but does pack some increased power, as we heard him mention yesterday. He's giving it a good ride. Here comes Lecco to the stripe. Checker flag waves, and for the 2nd straight day, he is victorious in the Cup class. That's the man of the hour, Memo Gidley. 2 straight wins to start the season. Championship bid is off in full force.
Yes, firing on all cylinders this weekend. Just a really solid weekend. Work with the race car, got it dialed in, nailed qualifying, responded and grabbed that fast lap yesterday so he can control the start here today. Had a little bit of a threat with Kyle Washington, but just kept that gap at 2 to 3 seconds, and a perfect start to their campaign.
Again, has the full family here, as we've talked about several times. It was a excited victory celebration for Memo and the Ski Autosports team one day ago. Back maximum points through the first 2 races of the season this year. Compare that to last year when they skipped the first 4 races, so already a huge jump start in their championship bid. Extra special to do it close to home here in San Francisco or the Bay Area. Provisional race results. Second race of the weekend, second race of the season. Memo Gidley by 1.9 seconds in the final analysis over Kyle Washington than usual. Held on for the podium after being denied yesterday. Cortez, strong drive from him up to 4th. Schultes had the fastest race lap. Ends up in 5th. Then Mutso, Blind, Davis, the top 8. Lecco and Nobby, top 2 in the Cup class. Lumsden, 11th overall. Schwest, unfortunately, eliminated due to contact on the opening lap. Will score points commensurate with that misfortune here in race number 2 after a strong day yesterday.
That was a fun one, some great scraps all the way through the field, particularly between Musial and Cortez. Cortez had a great run going, and Schultes, what a star from deep in the pack to get up into the top 5.
So, Memo Gidley has arrived in victory lane, just getting the helmet unplugged, the belts undone, and out of the car he comes. With a whole lot of fanfare from the fan club to greet him, and held aloft in celebration. Well done, great drive. Great to have that Audi here as well. Looks great, sounds great. Don't get to see many of those run these days.
No, you don't, but it's certainly, he celebrates with Melissa there. That's cool stuff.
Yeah, certainly is. Kent and Melissa, team owners, super passionate about this. And they love these wins, as does the whole crew at Ski. There's David Lecco. Had a big smile on his face when we talked to him post-race yesterday. And there it is again. Enjoying the opportunity to race at this level for the first time. And hope is we'll see more of those Ginetta GTP8s on the grid before too much longer. To victory lane and Amanda Busick.
Maybe I loved watching your team at the wall celebrate you as you came for the checkered flag. I saw your hand out the race car as well. I'm not sure if you're aware of this fact, but you just delivered Ski Auto Sports the first sweep of the weekend in their history. What does that moment mean for you?
You know, it's unbelievable. I mean, Ken and Melissa, Ski Auto Sports, that's why I'm here today. And then being a local track with all of my friends and family, from my 5-year-old daughter to my 89-year-old mother and my sisters and brothers in between and all my friends and family. We're all part of this journey, man. We're all part of this journey. I just happen to be in the driver's seat. Thank you very much.
If anyone wants to race you at Sonoma, what would you say to them?
Let's go. Come on. And you know, a lot of times I don't know the people that are out there, their names, but I know they're fast. That's all I care is helmet on, let's go race. Give it everything you got, because I work pretty hard at it, so let's see what you got.
Another win for the hometown boy.
There you go. You can hear how popular this win is. And the family there to greet him. Awesome stuff. He's right, you know, he's the one in the driver's seat, but it takes a whole team, and that's not just the race team, but the family as well, to help promote these kinds of results. Back down to Amanda now.
And happy to hear it'll be a full season effort for David Lecco, a sweep of the weekend for you as well. What will be the highlight for you leaving Sonoma?
Oh man, the highlight here is how beautiful it is, how flowy and high speed the track is, and to be here with the brand new car, the Ginetta GTP8.
Any adjustments you'll make ahead of COTA?
Well, we're always adjusting. We've had the car for only 3 weeks, but we've got a lot of things dialed in. It feels very neutral. It's very fun to drive and rewarding to drive. And so I'm dialing in with the AWS settings, which is new for me. I've never driven a car with that before.
Well done this weekend. We'll see you at COTA.
Thank you very much.
Then I'm going to go find our lone GT4 BMW on track, who just had a lot of airtime because there was a lot of battles happening around you. But Craig, when you reflect on your weekend, I know we talked yesterday about the mixed class racing. What was your venture around Sonoma today?
You know, I stepped it up. I tried to give myself a little bit more confidence, put it out there. My lap times were a heck of a whole lot better than they've been all week, even during practice. So I'm really happy with what I was able to accomplish this weekend.
What is it like being split by two GT3 cars on track?
Yeah, I saw that one coming. I'm like going, I closed my eyes and I held my breath.
Honestly, guys, it reminds me of that Justin Rothberg, Johnny O'Connell split a couple years ago. Unreal.
Yeah, good point. That was at Sebring, I think. And that was pretty spectacular. Oh, boy, put on a show for us there in the final couple of minutes. But everyone came out on the other side. That's the important thing. Second race of a doubleheader weekend for GT America, powered by AWS. The grid totally mixed up from race number one, with the exception of the pole sitter, Memo Gidley, who led from pole to the checkered flag in race one, trying to do the same in the second race. He got a great jump on the initial start. Further back in the pack, though, a little hip and shoulder. Scott Blind thrown wide, but it was Ross West who got the worst of it. A puncture, maybe suspension damage as well, led to a spin at the top of the hill. That led to the only safety car intervention of the race. On the ensuing restart, Memo Gidley pulled away from Kyle Washington. Further back, Joel Cortez raced his way, muscled his way forward around the Ferrari of Mark Lutzo. A few laps later, Mirko Schultes did the same with a little assist from Craig Lumsden, taking the Callaway Corvette up another spot. But the man of the hour, Memo Gidley, delivering the first ever sweep of a weekend for Ski Autosports in GT America. And the cars in Parc Fermé, celebrations underway, but also the planning already underway with the next round of the championship coming up at Circuit of the Americas. Headed to COTA. The championship standings look like this. Memo Gidley, maximum points, has a healthy lead, 22 points over Kyle Washington. Mark Mutzo, though, only 2 points behind Washington in second and third, respectively. Musial and Blind, they're tied on 21 points in fourth. Ross Schwest, good day yesterday, minimal points today, still though in fifth place, leaving Sonoma.